The AfriFox News studio buzzed with anticipation as the cameras warmed up, the lights casting a sterile glow across the polished desk where Jesse Waters sat. He glanced briefly at his notes, lips curled into a familiar smirk that signaled he was ready to perform, not inform. It was a prime-time slot, and tonight's guest was none other than Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a rising Democratic star known for her sharp tongue and refusal to back down from a fight. Jesse's producers had set the stage with a clear agenda: press her hard, corner her with loaded questions, and maybe stir up a few viral moments to drive tomorrow's headlines. Asterisk as the countdown ended and the segment went live, Jesse leaned forward with practiced ease, opening the show with a tone of mock concern. "Congresswoman, welcome," he said, his smile tight. "I think the American people deserve some answers. Why is it that your party continues to play the race card? Every time we talk about law enforcement, it was bait, thinly veiled under the guise of serious inquiry, and he knew it." He paused to let the question hang in the air, as if he had delivered some profound journalistic blow. His eyes narrowed, waiting for the reaction. Asterisk Jasmine Crockett remained still, her expression unreadable. Her hands were folded neatly in front of her, posture perfect, exuding calm control. She didn't rush to respond. Instead, she took a measured breath and simply looked at Jesse, as if silently weighing the worth of his question. That pause alone unsettled him more than any words could have. Off camera, the crew exchanged glances. This wasn't going to be a routine back and forth. Asterisk Jesse cleared his throat and added another jab. "You can't keep blaming the police when your cities are falling apart under Democratic leadership." He chuckled lightly, shaking his head, trying to reassert dominance. "You've got activists making the rules now. It's chaos." Asterisk still. Jasmine said nothing. She slowly tilted her head to the side, the corner of her mouth lifting into the faintest smile. It wasn't a smile of amusement, it was something colder, more surgical. A moment of silence settled like fog, heavy and expectant. Jesse shifted in his chair, not used to being met with silence instead of immediate outrage. The tension was palpable, something was building, and in that quiet, Jasmine's calm presence was louder than any of Jesse's talking points. Jasmine finally spoke, her voice calm but edged with unmistakable purpose. "It's funny, Jesse," she began, enunciating each word with a deliberate smoothness that cut through the noise of the studio. "How you've made a name for yourself by constantly interrupting women of color and pretending that's some form of journalism." She leaned slightly forward, eyes locked on Jesse's, not flinching for a second. Her tone didn't rise, didn't waver, just calm, clear, and surgically precise. A flicker of discomfort crossed Jesse's face, but he tried to mask it with a forced smirk. Behind the cameras, a producer's eyes widened. Asterisk "You invited me on this show," she continued, "not to have a conversation, but to perform a narrative you'd already written. But unfortunately for you, I don't play supporting roles in fiction." She turned to the camera for just a moment, subtly shifting the power dynamic. "Let's talk about facts, shall we?" Jasmine then started laying them out, one by one, like cards on a table, citing Department of Justice reports. She detailed patterns of police brutality disproportionately affecting Black and brown communities. She quoted Republican voting records that slashed funding for oversight programs, and she highlighted legislation her own office had co-authored to increase accountability in policing bills that Jesse's political allies had either watered down or outright blocked. Asterisk Jesse tried to interject, raising his hand and saying, "Well, let's not act like your side has all the answers." But Jasmine cut through him before he could build momentum. "No, Jesse, this isn't about sides. This is about truth. And the truth is, you've built a platform based on distraction, pointing fingers when the cameras are on and ducking accountability when they're off." Her words didn't rise in volume, but their weight filled the studio. She wasn't yelling. She didn't have to. Asterisk the control room, watching from behind the glass, was split. Some mouths hung open, others grinned knowingly. The tension was no longer between the political opponents. It was between someone clinging to control and someone wielding it effortlessly. Jesse tried to regroup, shuffling his notes, eyes darting to the monitor. searching for a break in the onslaught. But Jasmine wasn't finished. "You say you care about crime," she added, "but I've never seen you once raise your voice about January 6th, or the politicians who peddled lies that led to violence. That's not journalism. That's complicity." The line hit hard. The silence that followed was deafening. Jesse's smirk faltered completely now, his face tightening. The camera kept rolling, capturing every shift in posture, every beat of sweat. Jasmine's delivery had been calm, but the impact was explosive. The temperature in the studio had changed and everyone felt it. Jesse's face flushed a deeper shade of red as Jasmine's words echoed in the air. He leaned forward, fumbling slightly with the stack of cue cards on his desk. His voice cracked as he snapped, "That's a lie. You're twisting this into some kind of personal attack. That's not what this is supposed to be." His usual smug confidence had cracked wide open. His words came faster now, like he was trying to outrun the embarrassment. "You come on here with your talking points and your attitude and act like you've got the moral high ground. You don't." Jasmine didn't even blink. She remained composed, her chin slightly raised, letting him unravel. "You seem upset, Jesse," she said, her voice even softer now, but somehow more cutting. "Is it because I didn't let you control the narrative, or is it just hard being fact-checked in real time?" Her tone wasn't angry. It was steady, confident, borderline surgical, and it only seemed to make him spiral more. Jesse waved his hands as if trying to push her words back into her mouth. "You're not answering my questions," he barked. "You're grandstanding, deflecting." She lifted one finger calmly. "No, I'm correcting the record. You didn't ask questions. You made accusations. You wanted a soundbite, not a conversation. And now that you're being held accountable for what you said, you're panicking." Jesse slammed his pen on the desk, exasperated. "Oh, please. Don't act like you're some kind of saint. You're just doing this for clout. The Twitter crowd. The TikTok likes. You're just another showboating politician." The desperation in his voice was unmistakable now. Behind the camera, one producer was mouthing, "Cut to break," while another gestured wildly at the stage manager. The control room was buzzing with tension. Some crew staring wide-eyed at the meltdown unfolding live on national television. Jasmine didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The only one showboating is the man pounding his desk because a black woman didn't shrink in his presence, she said. The line landed like a thunderclap. Jesse's mouth opened, then closed, his breath catching for a moment. The studio fell into a strange silence, thick, awkward, electric. As Jesse scrambled for another retort, he blurted out, "Cut her, Mick." His voice cracked again. It was a command, but it sounded like a plea, one that even the producers hesitated to follow. By then, it was already too late. The internet had caught it live. The clip had been screen recorded, posted, and reshared thousands of times within minutes. The camera lingered on Jesse's flushed, stunned face as Jasmine sat back in her seat, calm, unbothered, victorious in her silence. He had wanted a takedown, but not like this. By the time the sun rose the next morning, the internet was ablaze. Clips from the broadcast had already racked up millions of views on TikTok, YouTube, and X. The segment had been chopped, edited, and repackaged with dramatic music, captions, and freeze frames of Jesse Waters' stunned face mid-meltdown. One viral edit featured Jasmine Crockett's calm rebuttal over the sound of flames crackling, with the title "When She Brought Receipts and Burned the Studio Down." Another paired her final words, "You're just mad the mirror's finally facing you," with a slow zoom on Jesse's red face as dramatic piano music played in the background. Twitter was merciless. Hashtags like #Crockett claps back, #Waters wrecked, and #Fox News fumble dominated the trending list. Screenshots of Jesse's flustered expression were already meme templates by breakfast, with captions like "When you realize you invited the wrong guest," and "Pav, you brought notes to a gunfight." Political commentators from across the spectrum weighed in. Some conservative outlets tried to frame it as a liberal ambush, while others, including some Fox viewers, admitted Jesse looked completely unprepared. Late-night comedians pounced on the segment, rolling the clip and laughing over Jesse's cut her mick. Meltdown like it was the punch line to a perfectly timed joke. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett leaned into the moment with style and grace. She tweeted out a short clip from the segment with the caption, "Respectfully, don't play with me." Her team released a follow-up thread fact-checking everything she had said on air, linking sources and offering receipts, effectively turning the viral moment into a teachable one. It wasn't just a soundbite, it was strategy. Her poise and intellect in the face of provocation earned her praise from progressives, independents, and even a few moderate conservatives. Pundits began speculating that she had just cemented her national profile. One anchor even said, "You just watched a future senator in action." Back at Fox, the mood was different. Jesse reportedly kept a low profile that day, skipping out on press engagements and taping a shorter than usual segment that evening. His team issued a vague statement about media distortion and selective editing, but it fell flat. The footage had aired live. There was no way to spin the raw panic and unraveling that viewers had witnessed in real time. Even some of his fellow hosts privately admitted that he'd walked into a trap of his own making and got destroyed not by someone yelling louder, but by someone thinking sharper. The segment became a moment, not just for Jasmine Crockett, but for a broader shift in political media. Viewers had grown used to pundits steamrolling guests, shouting over facts, and reducing issues to clickbait. But this time, the guest came prepared. She didn't scream. She didn't flinch. She dissected, exposed, and calmly reminded the audience that intelligence, when wielded with confidence, was still the most dangerous weapon on live TV. And Jesse Waters, who had come ready to dominate, left the studio knowing he had been thoroughly, publicly, and permanently dismantled.